This is exactly how you start a show with a Van Halen intro. My name is Ron, and I'm with Y Sports.
Y Kingdom Sports.
The sports episode is really amplified as the NFL is reaching Wild Card Weekend. And Wild Card Weekend is this weekend. There is a hell of a lineup for you. And speaking of a lineup, I have a special guest, my cuz, all the way from South Carolina, Mr. Dan Scott. Give it up for Dan.
Boo, boo, boo! Good to talk sports. It's good. It's even better to talk gambling. I can't wait. I'm so excited for Wild Card Weekend this Saturday. Woo! We're going to throw down a lot of scratch.
Yeah, throwing down some scratch. I mean, pretty much everyone who gambles on football, they gamble even heavier in the playoffs. And this is a very interesting wild card weekend now that the NFL moved to 18 games. In the playoffs, you have a whole nother day of games on Monday Night Football where the Cowboys and the Buccaneers will play.
So come on, we'll watch the game. It's the Cowboys and Buccaneers.
Hey, but let's get into it because there's been a lot of news in football. And you're a, Washington Redskins fan, or dare I say, the Washington Commanders fan?
The Washington football team.
Unfortunately, I am a Washington Commanders fan, but a long time Washington Redskins fan. I still refuse to call them Commanders. And it was a good victory on Sunday beating the boys because that's about all we had this season. But it is what it is.
You know, if that's the only game that you win is when you beat the Dallas Cowboys, that is a win for sure. Like, living and growing up in the Washington, D.C. area, to see a grandma, I'm talking about like 70, 80 years of age, wearing a shirt that says F Dallas. You know, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than that. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys has always been the long rival for the Redskins. Maybe the Dallas Cowboys look at the Giants as they're the rival, but for the Redskins, it's all about Dallas. Am I right?
Exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, in the Washington, D.C. area, it's all about beating Dallas.
Yeah.
And I'm not huge into that. I'm like, I go beat Dallas. I don't care. I just want to get back to winning. I want to get back into the 80s, the Gibbs era, the early 2000s, and give me something. That 2016 with Robert Griffin year, that excitement I felt. It felt like I was a child.
Yeah, until they faced the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs, and my dad and I were at the damn game. Were you at that game? Because I know Bobby was there.
No, that was the playoff game. I was at week 14 that year. Was that the Packers? Who did beat the game before the playoff to get into the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't know, but I know that when the Skins made it to the playoffs, I flew into D.C. to take my dad to the game, and there was like upper deck was, I don't know, $250 a piece or something. So I told my dad, I said, look, I got us tickets low in the 100 section. It was like the same price as the upper deck. And he's like, oh, great, I'm going with my son. And then we went to the game. For some reason, they had us up under this canopy behind a pole, like obstructed view, and you couldn't even see the damn game. But he was like, oh, these seats are great. So you had to like go to the bathroom to see something because there was like a big pole right in front of our seats. But no wonder they were discounted. But yeah, I went to that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's still being in the stadium. They got the TVs on. You get in there, get your hot dog or whatever. It was electric. It was electrifying.
I think the best part was tailgating out in the parking lot, especially with Uncle Bobby. You know, hopefully he's rooting on the Redskins in heaven. But golly, I'm sure he'd be ready to cuss somebody out the way they're playing this year.
Shit, he's already rolled over 7 times right now.
All right, well, let's get into the NFL. The NFL all starts with this Saturday. It's 3:30 Central Time or 4:30 East Coast time, where the Seattle Seahawks are going to play the 49ers. Now, the 49ers, I believe, you can put whatever seed you want to them. The 49ers are the team to beat. No one wants to play them. Now that they have Christian McCaffrey, I think that they're one of the best teams in the NFL, period.
Faux show.
And Vegas agrees with it. They're minus 10. So the 49ers minus 10 against the Seahawks with an over-under of 42.5. Who do you got, Dan?
Oh, I got the 49ers winning straight up. If you want to hit the money line at minus
Yeah.
150, that's not gambling. That's not gambling at all.
Yeah, that's pretty much getting your money back.
I would see. Here's the problem with playoff games, and 10.5 is a huge number in the playoffs because these are supposed to be the best of the best. You got the Seahawks, who were 9-6. Geno Smith is the quarterback. Say what you want, but he sort of gets it done. And then, of course, the 49ers got Garoppolo, but I don't know who I'm going to get. So, I mean, if I'm gambling and I'm going to put down some coin, give me the Seattle Seahawks plus 10. Is that what it is, 10?
Seattle Seahawks plus 10. That's it. We're going to lock you in on that one. Let me write this down. So we got Seahawks plus 10. That's Dan's got that one. I for sure have the 49ers. I would do it minus 15. But minus 10, I'll take minus 10 all day because the 49ers are going to kill the Seahawks. Geno Smith did a great job replacing Russell Wilson, but it's not going to be a good enough job to handle them 49ers.
Oh, shit. Here comes Debo.
Debo.
Here comes Debo. Debo's going to be on his ass. He doesn't have to be the running back now that they have McCaffrey. He can be a receiver, which he's supposed to be, and doesn't have to play every position on the damn team. The 49ers are definitely going to win. They're going to win by more than 10. I think they're going to win by 15. So I have the 49ers on that one.
And that's a lot.
Now, the next game would be Saturday night. We got the Chargers and the Jags. I'm not really that excited about that game, but it's nice to see the Jags. In fact, did you notice this, Danny, that all three of the Florida teams for the very first time since 1996 or something like that, all three Florida teams are actually in the playoffs together this year? The Jags, the Dolphins, and the Buccaneers.
That's an amazing fact. Wow, that's good. I didn't even know that. That's awesome. And the Dolphins, the Jags, yeah, and the
Buccaneers.
Buccaneers.
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah, you got the guy who's the same age as us.
Damn, Tom Brady.
They're slanging it, But so the Jags plus 1.5, 1.5, and the Jags are take 1.5 away from the Chargers.
It's a pick 'em.
Either one, but. Trevor Lawrence, it's about time that he makes his NFL playoff debut. I think he chokes, and I like the Chargers in this game, minus 1.5.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Last year, they were one of the worst teams, and they knocked the Colts out and prevented the Colts from actually going to the playoffs. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And it was like, man, it's the last game. Just go ahead and lose another one so you can get a great draft pick, but just like the Houston Texans.
The Houston Texans.
For some reason, instead of getting the first-round draft pick, they go ahead and win the game. It's like, of all times, if you're going to be a loser, lose all the way and get the first-round draft pick. Don't play and win the very last game. But they did, so they have, pick number 2 behind Chicago. But anyway, that was a long way to say I like the Jags, but I don't like them as much as I like the Chargers in this one. So I got Chargers minus 1.5. Who do you got in that one?
This is a great game also. You got the Jaguars are 9-8. They're very hot as of late. Trevor Lawrence is he's coming on, and you got that receiver Edelman Jr. He's been coming on strong for him too. So you got to watch him with the Jags. He's hot, but the Chargers, you got Hubert, you got Mike Williams, of course, at wide receiver. Vegas has this as a pick'em game. I don't even see this game as close. I think the Chargers handle this easily. I'm going to take them -1, and I'm also going to take the under at 47.5.
You going under?
I'm definitely going under. I don't see the Jags scoring. I think the defense is too much for the Chargers. Trevor Lawrence in playoff, big spot. He's not going to hack it. I'd look at this score probably being like, 24 to maybe 9.
Your homeboy picked the Chargers.
Well, that's a good prediction. Now let's move on to Sunday.
Sunday.
Let's go to Sunday for the NFL. We have 2 of the powerhouse teams. When the Chiefs traded Hill to go to the Dolphins, you're thinking, wow, great. The Dolphins are going to be a crappy team and just have one good player. But that one good player mixed with a few decent players, they were actually a team to be reckoned with until Tua got that concussion. And now he's playing a little safe, but I see the playoffs where they take some of those restraints off and say, just go out there and get it done and get that win?
Not against the Bills.
The Bills, it's Bills minus 10.5. And the Bills, the Bills have been the number one slated team to win the Super Bowl from the very beginning of the season. Vegas has had the Bills as number one, and we put that on one of our Wise Sports shows in the beginning of the season in the preseason. And as it looks today, Vegas is absolutely right. The Bills look like the very best team, but there has been some news in the last week or two from the Buffalo Bills. What was your opinion when you had Damar Hamlin actually went out of the game and ESPN just stopped the coverage? They didn't even want to talk about it. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, they were just speechless, didn't have any words, and the NFL stopped the game. What was your take on that one?
The words I could come up with. But I think it was very sad. I hope the NFL gets down to the bottom of why this young man collapsed on the field and had to have CPR given to him for 9 minutes. It's sad. Thank God the prayers came out. And hopefully this man can get back on the football field and make some hits again. And bless the Bills. The Bills are hot. The Bills are extremely hot. I mean, they had off last week. They only played 9 minutes in the first quarter. But like you said, the Bills are hot. They were hot last year. Everybody picking them to win the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a great game.
Yes, I absolutely see the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins game being the game of the week.
The game of the week.
And the thing about the Damar Hamlin situation of taking that injury, and no one's ever seen something like that where someone is literally unconscious, not breathing, lifeless, and needing CPR to the point the NFL game where there is playoff implications, they decided to cancel the game and not even continue playing the game. When have you ever seen an injury that actually stopped and canceled the game? Because they never played the game and they're not going to play the game. The game is canceled. When have you ever seen that? And then not only that is, when there's some kind of statement or situation that happens in the NFL over the last 10 years, it's really divided the fans. Where I'm not going to mention Colin Kaepernick, but there's things that happen, with the national anthem or things like that where half of the fans feel this way and they don't want to support the NFL anymore and they don't want to watch the NFL anymore. And, it's come to these politically charged things where everyone is divided. It was nice to see through tragedy, but everyone coming together in support and through prayer, taking a knee in that faction before God and praying for this young man, everyone coming together collectively in the NFL and people all over the country, regardless if it's a rival team or you like this team or that team, everyone was on his team and rooting for him and praying for him. It was nice to see that camaraderie and people coming together and teams coming together. You've seen that with the Texans and the Colts. I seen an image, you can see it right there where they were praying before the game. The Jags and the Titans, they also had that, the Bills and the Patriots. Before the game, they came together as two teams praying together. I'd like to see more of that one, but through Damar Hamlin, he is a person that you can put up there, and he didn't design it that way, but it happened that way, and I think it's a great thing for the game, and it's a great thing for America.
Yeah, and what's the number's huge?
10.5. 10.5.
10.5, yeah. So you're going to take the Bills?
When the
Minus
Bills
10.5.
played the Chiefs last year, the Bills scored every single time they had the ball and still lost the game. Every single time they had the ball, they scored every single time and still lost the game, which was unbelievable. I don't think the Dolphins can, match that kind of pace that the Bills are going to set. I think they're going to have a close game, but it's going to be no match for the Bills and the firepower they have and the way that Josh Allen can get down that field. So I like the Bills. I swear, if it was Bills minus 19, I'd still take the Bills, but Bills minus 10.5 is no brainer. I like the Bills on that one.
And that's a lock.
Yes, the Bills will definitely win straight up easy. The 10.5, I'm going to stay away from that bet. I'm definitely going to take the over at 44.5. I would hammer this over. I have a feeling this game's probably going to be around 28-14. It's going to be a good game, and who knows what's going to happen, but the Bills will definitely win because right now The Bills are hot, and everybody loves the Bills. I mean, the number one jersey is Hamlin, and they're hot. Everybody prayed. The Bills will probably win the Super Bowl this year.
The power of prayer was going to get them through, huh?
The power of prayer will get the Bills through to crush the Dolphins.
All right.
Hammer the over at 44.5, everybody. Hammer the over.
And that's a lock.
So the mid-game here in Texas is a 3:30 game. We're on the East Coast, South Carolina, wherever you are, 4:30 game. We got the Giants and the Vikings, and this is a very interesting matchup because it's one of the NFC East teams, one of the three that made it into the playoffs. The Giants are playing the Vikings. The Vikings are hosting. It's supposed to be the better team, but it's Vikings -3. That's not that heavy of a favorite. And anyone who's a Washington fan knows that Kirk Cousins is not going to get the job done.
Homeboy's going to choke faux show.
I mean, that's just one thing. I mean, that's one thing you can count on is Kirk Cousins is going to let you down when it counts. I mean, a Redskin fan knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I like the Giants in this one just because of the choke artist that Cousins is. But what's your take on that one, Dan?
My take on this is the Vikings played. I believe they had the record this year for the most games within like 3 points or something. All their game wins have been by like 2 points, 1 point, 3 points. Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. I think he's coming into his own a little bit. He's a lot better than he was in Washington. And I think the Minnesota Vikings will roll the Giants. I don't think it's going to be that close. Because you could tell by the over. The over is at 48.5. So that's a high number.
Real talk.
So they're playing that beautiful, one of the most state-of-the-art, newest facilities besides the Raiders and the Rams. But, you know, one of the best facilities in the NFL, a nice domed field. Vikings -3. I like the Giants even up. You don't have to even give me the points. I like the Giants even up.
Wow. Okay. So you're just going to take the Giants on the money line. I like it. That's big time.
Well, it's only 3 points.
But it's still, you're probably going to be at plus. I don't even have DraftKings or FanDuel open. But at the -3, I would take the Minnesota Vikings at -3, and I will take the under.
We're talking parlays.
Under.
So I would parlay that pick. And I would definitely take the Minnesota Vikings -3 and the under. And Kirk Cousins is going to – this is going to be the year he shows everybody why he's a great quarterback.
All right, well, how about this one game is where he shows everyone he has potential. We'll just stay with that one on this week. I'm not going to slate him in for a Super Bowl appearance at this point.
Kirk Cousins do, baby. I see in the Vikings versus the Bills.
Okay. Now we're moving on to Sunday night. Sunday night, we have the defending Super Bowl contender and Joe Burrow. And this is a replay of last week, Sunday, where the Ravens played the Bengals.
Who dat?
And the Bengals, they also had more than half of the game off when they played the Bills. It was a DeMar Hamlin injury. But last week, when the Ravens played the Bengals handled them. I mean, every mistake that was made was the Ravens making the mistake and the Bengals capitalizing. And I don't see this game being any different. The Bengals, not only do they have great players, they have some kind of magic, like the Joe Burrow magic. And it's hard to bet against them. But the Bengals -6.5, that is a pretty big number, but I like the Bengals against the Ravens. 100% I like the Bengals.
Yes, so I don't think it's too many points. I'm 100% with you. Joey B is the future. He's the next Tom Brady. The Bengals should handle the Ravens with ease. I'm not a huge fan of Lamar Jackson. I never was. Everybody's like, oh, he's so great. But I don't know, maybe me seeing RG3, I seen Russell Wilson. Even though he won a Super Bowl, but the running quarterback, it doesn't sort of get the job done like the guy that stands in the pocket. So I'm definitely going to take the Bengals. I'm going to stay away from the over-under. I'm not sure on that, but I'll definitely take the Bengals -6.5.
And that's a lock.
Bengals -6.5 are both locked in. And then Monday Night Football, for the playoffs. This is exclusive Monday Night Football only for Wild Card Weekend. And like Eminem said,
So come on, we'll watch the game. It's the Cowboys and Buccaneers.
and the Cowboys are going to Tampa, and Tom Brady, they haven't been playing very good. They're pretty much an 8-8 team, but that was good enough to make the playoffs. It's Buccaneers and 3 points.
He's the GOAT, man.
You know, so you get the Buccaneers and you get 3 points with the Buccaneers at home playing the choke artist of choke artists, the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I've probably seen them win one playoff game since the 90s. Or is that
Yeah.
true?
No, that's the secret that nobody wants to tell you about the Dallas Cowboys. They're always sort of good, and then when they get in the playoffs, they're one and done.
Well, they're usually not just sort of good. They're like really good. Like Tony Romo is leading the NFL in passing yards and all the stats for quarterbacks. And as soon as it makes it to the game that actually counts, like the playoff game, it's, no one shows up. It's just the game is too big for them.
Real talk.
And I think the game is just too big for Dak Prescott. You can tell the game was too big for them when they were playing the Skins the other day. I mean, with a third string quarterback, they could not stop making mistakes the whole entire game. And in the playoffs, when you're playing the playoffs where this isn't like a business decision where I don't want to take that hit. I don't want to be involved in that collision because it's a business decision. The business decision for these athletes who have been dreaming of this opportunity since they were little children, playing football in the backyard. When it's the playoffs, hey, all those business decisions are off the table. This is about legacy. And I see the Cowboys, when they played the Skins, they made some mistakes, but they just couldn't bounce back. They just continued to make more mistakes, and it wasn't offense, it wasn't defense, it wasn't special teams. It was all three of them. They could not seem to get anything together, and they're never going to beat the Buccaneers, even as bad as the Buccaneers are playing. I think Tom Brady is just a proven winner, and Dak Prescott
Has proven the big game is too big for him.
I like Tampa Bay on this one, even though my gut's telling me put your money on Dallas. It's hard to bet against Brady in the NFL playoffs.
You're 100%. So you have definitely the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at +3. I'm with you on that. I
Well,
think Tom Brady.
I think it's my dislike for the Cowboys that makes me not want to bet on them. But I think if I was really putting my own hard-earned money on something, I probably would take the Cowboys -3, to be honest. I think that ass whooping that they just took last week, hopefully they'll wake up and do a nice little reset. Like back in the 90s when your computer wasn't working, you just, bam, smacked it as hard as you could, and it was called a reboot. I think they got a reboot from the Redskins, and hopefully they'll come back and show some signs of life, at least in the wild card game, and then they can get knocked out next week in normal fashion.
Get knocked out like your father used to.
I see Tom Brady. He's not going down. Taylor Heineke almost got him. He gave him a nice run for their money, but I don't see the Cowboys jumping ahead of Tom Brady in the playoffs. He just elevates every area of his life. And NFL playoffs is where he, thrives. That's where he lives. He owns the NFL playoffs. The GOAT, greatest of all time, Tom Brady. I'm not putting my money against him.
He's the GOAT, man.
No, you're 100% right. And the Washington Commanders last week put out tape on how to beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And Dax, he almost threw like 3 or 4 interceptions. That's the worst thing you want going into a playoff game. Tom Brady, you're right. He is the GOAT. He is the Joe Montana of the 80s. He's, you know what I'm saying? He has all the swagger. He dated supermodels, married supermodels. This guy can play football. And I think at the end of the day, this guy's a winner. He's going to find a way to get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the finish line. And I'm 100% with you with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers +3.
This is a presentation of Kingdom Radio and Y Sports.